In August, we are celebrating Women's Month. For some, this month is filled with lots of emotions. Women's Month commemorates the historic march led by 20,000 women to the Union buildings in Pretoria on the 9th of August in 1956 to fight against apartheid pass laws. This year's Women's Month started with the hashtag Total Shutdown, where scores of women across the country pledged their support for the shutdown and marched against children and women abuse, including the abuse of members of the LGBTQIA+ community.
Okay, what I feel about Women's Day, I feel like it's a very important day for women all over the country. When I think about Women's Day, I think about all the women that gathered together and went to the union buildings. I think of Abamamlidi Ngoyi. I think about Bettina Sisulu, the women that fought for us, the women that were in the forefront of it all. I think of how we, as this generation, need to do better. I think we need to better the standard of what they did before. They've leveled everything for us. We just need to do better. I feel like the opportunities that we have now, they did not have, and we can do better.
On this Women's Month celebration, we talked to a feminist unit activist, Nomtha Menye, about some of the issues that are faced by women. This is what she had to say.
It's an answer, because as a woman, your day is determined by what happens to you on that particular day, right? But generally, I don't think there is a woman who can purely say their well-being is good. Because I feel like being a woman on a day-to-day basis is like an extreme sport, right? For me to get to my place to here, if I don't get whistles, if I don't get guys trying to spank my ass, if I don't get guys trying to comment on how I'm wearing that particular day, that is a good day, and that day is very rare. Men in our society always feel the need to have an opinion on how a woman should look, and they feel that they don't need a woman to give them their opinion. That no, you can ask me on how I look today. They feel they have that agency. They take it upon themselves to do as they please to a woman body. And I feel it every single day. And every single day I pray that please let this day be a better day than yesterday. Each woman has their own story, and each woman has their own reasons as to why they stay. But I know, particularly in a black culture, you will never be deemed a full woman if you're not married. I know, let me speak for myself and not even say the black culture. Let me speak for myself. In my family and how I know things, we have educated women in the family, right? But there are discussions that you will never sit in if you do not have a husband, right? Not even a boyfriend, because if you don't have that person is still illegitimate, So those stereotypes push us into staying in unhealthy relationships for the sake of getting married, for the sake of being seen as a full woman, for the sake of acquiring that status, of infiltrating those spaces that you can't enter if you are not married. So I think that on its own, we even see with how women celebrate marriage, and you wonder if, are you really ready to be in that space, and are you happy in that space? You even see with social media how relationships are celebrated. Because at the end of the day, we need to understand that there will never be a person that exposes the difficult times of a relationship, And I think that's how society operates in general, that the minute you start showing your downfalls, it's when everything else crumbles. So we pretend as though everything is okay until things get okay, or until things become blatantly wrong. So it's just, society is not conducive for failure, because people play on your failures. They don't try and get you out of that space, but they make you stay in that space for as much as possible. They speak about you, they speak about it. So for you not to be spoken about, you pretend as though things are okay. So I think it's just society in general. For me, both parties need to come together and work on it together, because even with the conversations and dialogues that we have in the institution, trying to eradicate gender inequality, you look at the audience and you see that the domination that audience is females, and therefore that means the men are not hearing the narrative. The men are not coming to the party to solve the problem with females. So then it means that whatever we're doing is futile, you know. So and we can't force people to want to change. That's another thing. So we can't literally force people to attend dialogues, to attend engagements, if they don't see it upon themselves that a change needs to happen, right? And hegemonic masculinity is toxic in men itself, even before you bridge the gap to females, right? So they need to see it, that it is toxic within the men before they can realize that it is toxic towards females, you see. And that's a conversation that a female can't come to you as a man and say, your hegemonic masculinity is toxic towards me, and expect you to understand. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a conversation that you would have to have with yourself, that you would have to initiate yourself before you see the change. You get me? So it's conversations that need to be had amongst men. Because even with the conversation that we had, as I've mentioned earlier, we have these conversations and we have men there and they listen. But when they go back to their circles, it's a completely different conversation. They laugh about the conversation that was spoken about there, you know. So they perpetuate that hegemonic masculinity and the patriarchy within their circles. Then that means that we're not winning. We're not winning. So it needs to be something that you realize as a man yourself, and you are willing to speak it amongst other men. Don't realize that your hegemonic masculinity is toxic and then speak it with females. And then when you get into your circles with the men, you speak something completely different. You get me? On the 1st of August, we had a national shutdown. On the 6th of August, we had an institutional shutdown. And this is still a Women's Month. So we have started this month on a bad start. You know. So how do I feel about Women's Day? I feel as though it just says the struggle continues for women that day, for me. For me, I celebrate the people that fought, the women that fought for liberation in 1956. And then I hope that on the 9th of August, still a reminder on other people that we still need to fight. Like Singadinwa, you know, it's basically that for me. I'm basically telling myself that Sudima, Nomtha, you know, you need to continue fighting, even if there is unwillingness on the other side. It's basically telling me to be patient, because I see the bigger picture, even if it's not in my generation, but I see the bigger picture, and I hope that everyone else sees the bigger picture, because we have changed so much. We may not necessarily have changed in the fast rate that we have wanted to, but we have changed regardless. So it means that continue fighting, continue speaking, even in woman, yes, on that day. If as a man your intention was to break women, then you can celebrate that you have won on that day. Because men, they break and they continue to break. And they do not look for conducive environment to break. At shutdowns that are led by women, they are there and they are there to break. In engagements that are for women, they are there and they are there to break. So if men want to celebrate the 9th of August, they must celebrate breaking of women on that day. And I'm obviously, I can't speak for the men that have not contributed to the breaking, but if you have not contributed to the breaking, then you will not be offended by what I'm saying. Which is basically why we say men are trash. So if they want to celebrate, tell myself, celebrate breaking women. You've done a good job because we are broken. I can just say that initiate conversations of change and speak even if the environment is not conducive for you to speak. And I speak to men as well, right? That change, man, like I can't even put it into words basically, but change. And women continue to influence change, continue to initiate transformation, continue to introspect and reflect and grow as well. You know, I don't want to put too much pressure on women. They're already under a lot of pressure. But with that being said, take care of yourselves as women. I don't care about men.